guys, and welcome back to Mika Reacts and Reviews, where we react and review to things on the internet. Same day, same shirt, different video. And today we have another non-music reaction video, and we are revisiting Dr. Jordan Peterson. Love Dr. Jordan Peterson. I don't agree with everything he says, but I am grateful for his presence in this world. If this is your first video since I've been away, as you can see, I have a new location. I'm all the way in the mountains. I'm looking at a beautiful scenery as we speak. It makes me very, very happy. And so this will be my background for the next few weeks at least. I might still be uploading old videos from where I was, so if you see the old background, like, don't get confused. But anyway, the title of this video is Dr. Jordan Peterson on toxic femininity. So I am a female, so I thought it'd be interesting as a female to react to Dr. Jordan Peterson's take on toxic femininity. I have heard other people describe what toxic femininity was to them. I have never heard Jordan Peterson describe it, at least in this package like this. So I'm really interested in what he has to say. And if you like videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that helps with the algorithm, guys. If you'd like to support this channel, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. But you don't have to. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, let's get into it.
About 3 years ago, I was interviewed by The Economist, and we were talking about aggression. And I said that men are, on average, more aggressive than women, or they're more physically aggressive. So among children, for example, boys are more likely to kick, hit, bite, and steal. And that's not a bad operationalization of aggression, let's say. And then if you look within boys, a small proportion of the boys are that way at 2. Most of them get socialized out of it, but those that don't are stably antisocial and criminal into the adolescence and adulthood. And then that burns out around 27, 28. That's the developmental trajectory of aggression. Doesn't look like it's learned. Okay, so however, there's something else, so that's interesting enough. It's like, it's there at 2. It's a rage circuit. It's an old biological circuit, and it gets controlled. And most aggressive kids are socialized by the time they're 4. And if they're not, you can't socialize them after that. That's also very interesting and rather disheartening. But
like at all?
Women, girls,
like no
however,
hope?
They are more aggressive than males if you measure aggression differently. They use reputation destruction. So, well, we've seen what happens with social media. Physical aggression doesn't translate to social media. But reputation destruction, that translates to social media unbelievably well.
So that's really interesting. I feel like when he talks about reputation destruction, the first thing that rings in my head is cancel culture. And I do feel like when you look at the leaders, the ones who sort of leading the forefront of a cancel culture campaign, it is usually females. This is usually a woman. So he's saying that physical aggression doesn't translate well on social media, of course, because you're not physically interacting with anyone. But if most of our lives are going to slowly move online and less physically and less, face to face, then isn't sort of the aggression that's shown online just as important and just needs just as much as attention as physical aggressions that men are usually more inclined to having? Because I do feel like in feminism, they always, the biggest thing they have is like, well, men are more physically aggressive, therefore we are always going to be more oppressed than them. But again, if most of our lives are now going to start being online, especially younger people, like the younger generation, then maybe that aggression online is just as harmful and needs just as much as attention as a physical aggression that men again tend to lean into, but women tend to lean into more. What he's saying is reputation destruction. Interesting. Let's continue.
So maybe it's time to have a little chat about toxic femininity.
Well, there we go. Jordan, I've got a little piece of paper here with some of the questions we were going to ask you. And the next one on my list is, why do people hate you? I think you've answered that.
I don't hate him.
Why do you think? Why do you think?
Why would you hate
Well, I was
Jordan
gonna ask you this.
Peterson?
What would you point to?
Well, let me ask you this, because I think this is an important part of it. Helen Lewis, who's interviewed you and who wrote a review of your book,
she hates me.
Yeah. She hates you. I've met Helen Lewis, and she's interviewed me, and of all the things you might say about her, you wouldn't say that she was stupid, and you wouldn't say that she was poorly educated, right?
So I might say that.
I was being generous.
She took
but
advantage
anyway.
of the education that was offered to her. But
You can be really well versed in the stuff that you were taught. But if the stuff that you were taught was bullshit, then you're well versed in bullshit. You know? I think being well read and sort of knowing how to memorize what you've been told and just repeating back what you've been told is not the same thing as being well educated or knowledgeable or a critical thinker.
I wouldn't, but education is so corrupt that mastering it makes you an expert at nonsense.
I didn't watch this, I swear to God.
I'll accept that. But let's just go with the she's intelligent point. So she should be able to understand your arguments, and I'm sure she does. And yet I notice time after time where an intelligent person, even Kathy Newman, you wouldn't say that she's stupid, and lots of others, come after you with a vitriol and a visceral, you can feel it. You can, when you're watching.
You should be there.
Yeah, right.
Must be intense.
When I went to the GQ interview,
yeah.
Look, I've got to say, when I went to the Kathy Newman interview, Kathy Newman was very professional. We met in the green room beforehand. She was perfectly polite, in a professional sort of way, you know. But that's fair enough. Professional politeness beats the hell out of, you know, random rudeness. So I'll take it. When I walked into the GQ interview, and I was already pretty worn out at that point. There was a photo shoot first and then the interview. And that place was hostile right from the moment I walked in. And so I'm kind of on edge in that interview because I could feel that. And it was like the stage was set long before I walked into that. And so there wasn't even professional politeness. It was, you know, people can freeze up a room. Some people are really good at that. I think maybe it has to do with smell. You know, I lived with someone once, and you could tell if they were upset when you walked into the house. You'd get kind of an uneasy feeling. And the only explanation I have for that is that it's related to smell at some unconscious level. In any case, the GQ interview atmosphere was unbelievably tense. And I was sort of in there for 45 minutes before I started talking. So I was already in the position of a cat who hears dogs barking down the street. So... in any case, it still isn't obvious to me what it is that causes such animosity.
Well, let me posit a theory, Jordan.
Before he puts his theory out, I feel like my theory is going to be is because I think people's ideology becomes their everything. I think people's ideology becomes their Lord and Savior, their religion, their cult, their life, their identity, their community. It becomes everything of who they are, especially if that is something that you're doing as a career, as a lifestyle. To question something that I have built my identity on, I understand why people get so defensive and so offended and so triggered, because it's like, I built my entire identity around this. So you can't tell me that this is all bullshit, because if this is all bullshit, then I built my entire identity off of bullshit. I worship bullshit. I go to the throne of bullshit. And I'm not ready to accept that as a fact or truth, because I don't need to like reconstruct my life. I don't need to reconstruct my whole belief and my whole identity and my whole religion and my whole friend group and everything like that. My idols, the people I respect. I'm not really down to like reconstruct that right now. So I'm going to defend this to the death of me. And I think that's why people get so triggered by things like feminism, like race, like gender, because it becomes everything to them, which is pathetic in my opinion. As a human being, you should be nuanced. There should be so many different moving parts of who you are as a person, that someone sort of attacking that's something about you shouldn't trigger you to that extent where you like fucking lose your mind or treat someone like an ass, like become an asshole to somebody. For instance, like I've listened to debates about critical race theory, and I can listen to a debate about critical race theory without becoming super emotional and super triggered, because even if you were correct in your assumptions about critical race theory, and I have my own beliefs about it and I have my criticisms about it, But even if you're correct, it does nothing to my life. Like, my life is still good. My life isn't going to crumble. A part of me isn't going to die or anything like that, because that's your theory or that's your assumption. So it's like, I can listen to someone that's talking about my race or my gender without like losing my fucking mind over it, because it's not my Lord and Savior. It's not my everything. I haven't built my entire identity around it. Let's continue.
Because this is what I really wanted to ask you. You tweeted the other day when Helen Lewis published her review of your book. You said, "Why do you hate me? I've tried to be a good man." And I replied saying, "I think you've answered your own question." And my fear is, and my question to you is, do you think that fundamentally, you mentioned toxic femininity. I don't like to get into this whole gender thing in that way, because the whole gender war is a stupid thing to me.
Well, it's
as far as
titled
I'm concerned.
toxic
But
femininity. So.
I do think it's possible that we live in a society where some people, those people that I'm talking about, they don't want strong men. They don't want men to be better. They want men to be weaker. And they see you as an agent of change who helps men to be better. And they are scared of that.
Yeah, I can understand that, because I think that women who believe this idea that throughout all of history, men has been tyrannical and evil and destructive, and if a man shows any sort of confidence or alphaness or anything like that, or self-worth, then that will then translate to the same behaviors that they feel was destructive to the society in the first place, which is not something I believe in, but like that's what a lot of feminists believe in. So I think they feel like you have to sort of beat men down into submission, so then whatever that destructive behavior they felt was bad for society won't sort of come out again or something like that, but completely ignoring all the destructive behaviors of women.
Well, if you've had bad experiences with men, and, you know, that's probably the universal female experience, right? Because we all fall short of the ideal. And of course, that's deeply disappointing to women, just as women who fall short of the ideal are deeply disappointing to men. But let's say you've had less than ideal relationships, perhaps with any man in your life. It might make it very difficult for you to distinguish between authority and power, right? Because if authority is misused, it looks like power, and misused power is tyranny. And so the best thing to do in the case of misused power is to reduce the power. And if authority and competence never enter the issue, never enter the question, then you don't ever think you're sacrificing something. You're just dampening down the possibility of tyranny. This is partly why the oppressive patriarchy narrative is so distasteful to me. It's like, look, fair enough, you know, I mean, every hierarchical system has its tyrannical aspect. And you might say, well, let's get rid of hierarchies. And it's like, no, sorry, you can't even see without a hierarchy, because you have to decide what you're going to look at. And you privilege what you're looking at over all the things you aren't looking at, and you produce a value hierarchy instantly. There's no escape from that unless you could equally attend to everything all the time.
Yeah, hierarchy is sort of human nature. It just, you can find it amongst animals. A lot of people have this misconception that hierarchy was created during colonialism or as, you know, men constructed societies or something like that. But hierarchy has existed since living things lived on the planet. That has always been a thing. It is not going anywhere. But yeah, of course, you, like he said, you don't want a tyrannical, you know, totalitarian, authoritarian hierarchy, of course. But hierarchy is just a part of nature.
Which you can't. So you're stuck with hierarchies. There's no escape from them. That doesn't mean they're universally benevolent, because they're not. And they get warped by power. But just because they get warped by power doesn't mean that that's their essence. Authority is their essence, and that's competence, right? But if you can't distinguish those two, well, then it's all-out assault on anything that looks like power.
I think it's the same thing with masculinity, because there have been men that misuse their masculinity or their strength that they had. But I also think the idea of masculinity being just inherently bad and toxic has just been sort of, it's been repeated over and over and over again in feminist circles. So then it becomes masculinity equals bad, instead of there's, I guess if you want to say, toxic masculinity, and then there's healthy masculinity. But I think that warped and just turned into masculinity in general is bad, and then it's women's job to reconstruct what masculinity is, when it's like, no, you're a woman, you can't just go like tell men how to be men, especially if you sit there on your high horses all day and tell men to shut up about women's issues, but you want to be a woman and tell a man how to be a man. No, like, you have men in communities teach other young men how to be men. That's how masculinity, healthy masculinity, should be passed down within the communities and within societies. And so we should encourage that more, instead of just trying to like smash out masculinity altogether and make it seem like it's just all going to be inherently bad, which is not the case. Just because some men use their strength and their masculinity for bad doesn't mean that it's all for every man is inherently bad. That's not true. Let's continue.
So, and there's definitely, there's a huge element of that. It's so unfortunate, because you see then that boys get punished for their ambition, and because that looks like the route to power. I had friends who were so guilty about their ambition that, well, in one case, it killed him. He committed suicide. Now, he had his problems, but one of them was that he was unbelievably guilty about being white, about being an oppressor, about any human activity, because he associated that with the despoiling of the planet.
Wow.
And it's not like we don't hear that story over and over and over.
Wow, that's insane. To kill yourself because the society has convinced you that you're so inherently bad for just being born. Like, that's really sad that someone made him feel that way. I don't think you should ever blame anyone else for someone else's suicide, but it's sad that he felt pushed to do that. But yeah, it's really true. It's like, especially if you are a white male, like, you are basically the evilness of the world. Everything in the world that is bad is your fault. And that really, really sucks. I like the way he talked about like how young boys are constantly being, like you see it from the moment young boys are born. They're told to shut up, be quiet, sit down, shh, just suppress yourself. If they're too much energy in school, you put them on Adderall, you put them on ADHD medicine. And instead of just letting them get that energy out, so it does come out in a more healthier way, instead of being balled up and then exploding in a way that you don't want it to. I remember like even that 13 Reasons Why TV show, they talked about like on the TV show that, they should get rid of football in high schools because it inherently creates rape culture. And I'm like, okay, so then what are teenage boys supposed to do with all that energy now? Like, they're supposed to just ball it up and just keep it inside and suppress it and suppress it. Like, what do you really think is going to happen when you take away sports, take away football from young men to be able to hit something and crash into something and have some self-worth and be proud of something? And it's just fucking ridiculous. And I do think, like, when you're a young girl, when you're a little girl, from the moment you, like, step foot on the planet, society, especially in the West, tells you you are the best, you are amazing, you can do anything, you can beat anybody, you can be better than any man, you can be president, you can do anything. But when you're a boy, something's wrong with you inherently, and you need to listen to us women so we can change you. Women, you are perfect girls, you are perfect the way you are, and don't let anyone else tell you anything differently. And you should not have a society where you have an imbalance that way, where you tell girls one thing and you tell boys another thing. Yes, it used to be inverse back in the day, back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. It used to be inverse, but it's not like that anymore, and I'm so sick of women pretending we are still living in the fucking 1950s where people are like that. Oh, women are always told. No, women are not told that they can't do anything in this world. In this society, in the West, stop pretending women are told they can't do anything. Women are not told they can't do anything. Women are told from the moment they are born that they can do anything they can freaking put their minds to. We do not live in the past anymore. That is just a perpetuated narrative that just goes around. People parrot as if that's just really going on. As a female, I have never been told I cannot do something because I was a woman. That has never happened in my life. I have never been told I can't do anything because I'm black. I have never been told I can't do anything because I'm bi. The only people that say that are the people within the communities themselves. But anyone outside the community has never told me that. So it's just like, what are you talking about? There's already articles out there of women who are upset because they can't find a mate. So why do you think that's the case? You can't find someone that you think is on your level, because they've been told since they were little boys to shut up, be the fuck quiet, there's something wrong with you, everything's your fault. Like, you really think they're gonna grow up to be like well-rounded men? Like, come on. It's over 70%, you know, single or a single mother household in the black community. There's absolutely, where are the men to teach these young boys how to be men? I don't care how strong and how amazing and how talented you are as a woman, you can't teach a young boy how to be a man. It's just annoying. I love that video. Do you guys want to see more videos like this, especially from Dr. Peterson? Do you like these non-music reaction videos and these more conversational pieces? I love them. I hope you love them. If you are offended by anything I said or Dr. Peterson said, you have to remember these are just opinions. We're all entitled to them. Do not let them ruin your day. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that helps with the algorithm, guys. Helps me grow, helps me bring you more entertainment. If you would like to support this channel, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. And if you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go in the description box below, hit the link, and go subscribe to my travel vlog channel and follow me on Instagram. Alright, and that's it, guys. You guys have a good day. Bye.